Alright, take two, this time actually with sound. Starfarer missions. And I'll just go over what I did last time. This should replace the previous video, which was generally pretty terrible. Starfarer is a game programmed in Java. It's a top-down space combat slash trading slash exploration game. It's currently in alpha, so not all the features are in, but the combat is currently almost complete, and a bunch of missions have been provided with it, and I'm going to be going through one of them. This is the mission, the first mission, turning the tables. There's a variety of them, including a random battle, which you can get, where you'll get assigned a random fleet, your enemy will get assigned a random fleet, you can just simply fight it out. So, also included in the battles is the option to refit your ships, which I will show maybe in the next video if I do one. But for now, we're just going to play this mission. So, combat in Starfarer is partly skill-based and partly tactical, if you want to think about it that way. You have a certain amount of ships which you can deploy using fleet points. That's pretty much all there's to deploying things. Certain ships are better at certain things than others, and they also come in different sizes. For example, my flagship here is a balanced destroyer, which is a mid-sized class ship. Its loadout is currently the balanced loadout, which is some chain guns and some missile launchers and some point defense lasers. It also has a hull mod on it for expanded missile racks, which will allow me to have more missiles on my missile hardpoints. Now, this is a cruiser, which is one size up from a destroyer. This one appears to be actually outfitted more with a sort of assault in mind, even though it does say balanced. The mining blaster is a rather large weapon, and that's probably mounted on a swivel mount somewhere on the ship. It has two flak cannons for point defense and for fighter defense, two harpoon MRM pods, which are anti-hull, anti-armor missiles, and two Sabot SRM pods, which are anti-shield missiles. And of course, it has a hull mod as well, integrated targeting unit, which, if I recall correctly, will extend the range of most of the weapons on it. And then there are two fighter wings of mining drones. These are not pilotable by the player, but they are quite useful. They're pretty fast, and you can command them to escort things. Anyway, I'm going to deploy everything. So, what we're seeing right now is the tactical map, where my ships are placed at the bottom. Also, we have the rest of the map, with stellar objects. This is an asteroid belt in the middle. Asteroids you can run into, and they will do damage to you if you hit them fast enough. There's also two important points here: nav buoy alpha and sensor array alpha. Both of these will provide passive bonuses if captured by either player. Usually things like increased engine speed, increased sensor distance, and they will give you more order points, or command points as they're actually referred to. Command points are used to give orders such as capturing things, escorting things, creating a waypoint, say, and saying to defend the waypoint, recon, anything like that is done with order points. You only have command points. You only have a certain amount of command points, but they are replenished when you capture different points, and they can be sort of refunded if you cancel orders. Though for now, I think I'm just going to do this. So, now what you're seeing is me actually piloting a ship. The orange-yellow lines out there with the dots are my firing arc for the weapon group I'm using, which is the assault chain guns. If I switch it over to something like, say, the missiles, the firing arc will change, and if I switch over to the point defense lasers, you can see that they give a 360-degree coverage on my ship. Now, I also have shields. Very important. Shields take damage and divert it into flux. Flux is sort of like heat, if you want to think about it that way. Everything you do, for the most part, will generate some amount of flux. From firing weapons to blocking damage to, in the future, most likely, in the next update, using any of your ship systems. Things like that. If you gain too much flux, you can't actually fire or block or anything like that, and you have to vent it. However, you see I just got overloaded there. However, having high flux increases your weapon damage, which means that it can actually be a tactical trade-off to deliberately gain more flux like I'm doing right now, in order to deal more damage to an opponent when you can only hit them a limited amount of times. However, right now I actually have too much, so I'm going to hit the Vent Flux button. When you Vent Flux, you can't fire weapons or shield for a certain period of time, but it does get rid of all of it very quickly. Now let's just see how this is going. Oops. So it appears that they have a Hound class frigate, which is a fast attack unshielded frigate sitting on the nav buoy, which I don't want there. So it's going to get killed by these guys. I'm going to order those guys over there. So what should be happening is, now my mining drones will take that out. They shouldn't have too tough of a time with it. It has shields, so it can't block their beam weapons. And my large cruiser is doing exactly as I told it to, sit in the middle, wait for instructions, basically. I'm going to try to use a Sabot SRM on this guy. I am terrible at aiming, so it didn't work too well. There we go. I just overloaded his shield with an anti-shield missile, and now I'm doing damage to his armor. The yellow numbers you see are armor damage, which doesn't actually do hull damage, but you only have a limited amount of armor on each part of the ship. You can see your armor stats over here, actually. The darker it gets, the less armor you have. And the red numbers are hull damage, which, once your hull reaches 0, well, you die. Just about as simple as that. Now, also blue is shield damage, but you probably figured that out already. There we go. How did we lose the nav? The fuck? Oh. Well. Alright then. I'm going to trust that my fighter can handle that. Also, I'm moving through a nebula right now, which means I can't use my zero flux engine boost. When you have zero flux, and also when your shields are down, you can have a 50% increase on your engine speed, which is pretty beneficial if you're trying to chase something down, like, always do that. Like what I am attempting to do and will probably fail at. This carrier, Condor-class carrier, it can repair fighter wings, but currently it's retreating, and there's no way I'm going to get it before it actually manages to get away. Unfortunate. And now, I'm going to transfer command. You can transfer command to any ship aside from fighters on the field, which allows you to take direct control of your ships. It's sometimes useful, sometimes not. If you transfer command when you don't have to, it can often be a hindrance because you're out of combat for a little while, but if you know what you're doing with it and you transfer command at the right point in time, you can actually probably change the course of battle depending on, you know, your skill. Being able to take direct control of, say, a capital ship in the middle of a fleet battle is quite beneficial. Anyway, as you can see, I finished this up quite nicely. Unfortunately, the Condor retreated, but there was nothing I could really do about that. We managed to disable everything else aside from one fighter wing, and that fighter wing took 78% damage, so that's pretty good. So that was mission 1. They only get progressively harder from there. Also, there is a rudimentary campaign mode where you can mess around in the star system, you can trade, you can fight pirates, you can be a pirate if you feel like it. Well, you can kill every faction if you feel like it. It's going to be expanded upon later, but, you know, right now it's fairly adequate for showing off what the game can do. So that was video 1, take 2. This will replace the horrible, terrible video that's up on YouTube right now. And yeah, if people like it, I'll do more of this. I'll show off my campaign mode file if you guys want. So yeah.